Okay, that's perfect.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, viewers. Please excuse the confusion at the start. This is the first one of what probably are going to be quite a few webinars. My name is Richard Hill. I am the Vice President of Brexpats in Spain, an organisation that was formed the day after the referendum, a voluntary organisation that was formed after the day of the referendum. We now have circa 10,000 members in Spain, and our purpose is quite simple. We are apolitical. We do not support or promote any political party or politicians, and we try and work with every politician of all shades of politics. Our purpose is to inform and try and protect the way of life of British expats in Spain, and that includes our visitors. Not a derogatory term, but we term the people who come here part of the year as swallows, or snowbirds, as somebody once said. So today we are here to take your questions. I'm doing a short introduction, and sitting alongside me we have Ignacio from Pellicer and Heredia, lawyers in Alicante, who have supported Brexpats in Spain from the very start. We rely on them and we are thankful for their support. And they have given many people in Spain excellent advice. On my right, I have Stuart from Pellicer and Heredia, and this is the opposite side of the coin. We often go on about British expatriates in Spain, but of course there's a converse side to this. There are expatriates from Spain in the United Kingdom, from all over Europe in the United Kingdom, and they are having similar issues and difficulties that we are. So Stuart is here to assist with that. Ignacio is here to assist with legal and tax issues that you may come across. Because, and I want to stress this, Brexpats in Spain is run by volunteers. We are not experts in the law, we are not experts in tax, but we know where to get expert advice. We also work very closely with the British Consul, the British Embassy, local ayuntamientos, and government organisations in Spain. Not in a confrontational way, not really in a campaigning way, but working with them to ensure that you get the best advice, the accurate advice. That brings me to the next point, that there is so much misinformation at the moment being generated. It really is quite appalling. And we are having to correct this information on a daily, if not hourly basis. So let's look at the current position as it stands at the moment. And I'm only going to deal with generalities. Firstly, there are a lot of Facebook groups and sites and organisations purporting to offer Brexit advice, meetings that offer a free breakfast. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody's paying for it. So, and they have sometimes indicated you should be applying for a TIE card. Wrong. You cannot apply for a TIE card at this stage. They are not available to British people. Now, we have been advised that there is going to be an European TIE card for those that have residencia. Key word, as usual, is those that have residencia. I'll come back to that. So you can't get a TIE card at the moment. You will, at some stage, at some time, be able to apply for a TIE card. We are told that it is not going to be obligatory, but you will be able to apply if you want to. Now, our advice is when the TIE cards are available, probably it would be better to apply for them. Because then you would have got a TIE card that is recognised right across Europe, because it's going to be a European one for existing residents. Whereas if you try and take your green sheet of paper or your green residencia card, say to France, somebody may well look at it and go, well, that's not valid. You're supposed to have a TIE card. So our advice is when they are available, think about applying for one. But it is not an issue to panic about at this stage. They're not available. They will be available at some time, be it weeks, months, or even later this year. We don't know. Your existing residencia card or certificate remains valid. I want to stress that. So you do have nothing to panic about. And certainly for this year, the 𝐏𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐢𝐜 continues. So those of you that are swallows and use the 𝐏𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐢𝐜, not an issue this year until December the 31st. Pensions, no problem, period. No problem, period. Healthcare for those that have residencia. I keep saying that. Again, I'll come back to it. But for those that have residencia, healthcare is not an issue and won't be an issue. So basically, our position remains unchanged. However, I have seen a lot of queries about what happens if we end up with a no deal at the end of this year. And the answer is, we end up with no deal. But the withdrawal agreement, the citizens' rights part of the withdrawal agreement carries on. So again, we are protected. Now, I've mentioned residencia a number of times. One thing that for 3 years, Brexpats in Spain, the British consul, the British ambassador have been stressing time and time again is you must, I use the word must again, ensure that you are legal in Spain. If you are not protected under any of the agreements. So it is imperative that you get your residencia sorted out. And what I'm going to do now is introduce you to Ignacio and allow him to tell you what they do. Ignacio.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ignacio, one of the Pellicer Heredia lawyers, and we're very grateful to help Richard and the association Brexpats in Spain all the way along. As Richard said, it's very important you do things by the book, and we recommend you to, if you didn't do it, to put it in motion. One of the topics that I'll be able to read on the questions that we've got on the panel is how do you get residencia today? I don't know if Richard wants to mention something about the very latest.
I will do.
Right, but the situation at the moment in Alicante province, they're asking now to have a minimum per person of 9,000 euros. If you see in the past year, we've been having 7,000 euros income per year per person. Now that's just being modified 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Okay, so things change very quickly. So if you're one of those who are in the process, please put it in motion and check on a daily basis. What you need, if you want to see on writing, we've got in the blog, what are the requirements about getting your residencia. But obviously, if you want me to run through it, you need your passport, you need your photos, you need to fill in a form, you need to have health insurance, and please make sure your health insurance covers every situation in Spain. That means treatment, that means surgery, all full cover as social security. Then you have the income requirement, which is the 9,000 euros per person now. And you will need to comply as well with the photos. If you are pensioner, then you'll need the S1, having the pension. If you are working in Spain, you will need to have the requirement of proving that you register in Spain legally, and you'll have income to live in Spain. Okay, so these are the basic things you will need now for those who are applying now for the residencia. Now, if you want to change into permanente, for those who want to have permanente, you will have to go and run through all the requirements again. So it's very important, as Richard said, to do it properly now, and especially because that will help you in the process of getting the TIE. With regards to different topics that we will talk through now, will be the situations once you're resident. There is a lot of questions in the forum, Brexit in Spain, about the tax implications of the swallows or the people who are spend some days here and there. I've been reading in the post recently a lot of questions about taxes. The double taxation treaty has not been changed. It was signed in 1977 and still remains. There will be some issues in the future if considered as a non-third country, especially already now for those who rent the properties. The taxation will be like a third country. And it's very important for you to do things by the book, okay? Now, once you've got residencia, here is a lot of questions about fiscal residency. And I think this is very, Richard, this is very important because people will not only be legal in Spain, but will need to make up their minds on where they're going to pay their taxes, where they're going to be. And I think the whole thing is very much linked into the whole situation.
So in fact, there are two questions in at the moment on tax. I don't know if you want to look at them at the moment before we move on to...
Right, well, I'll just finish then, and then I'll be able to read because it's not very close here.
It's funny you should say that.
Yeah, I'm not able, I don't know if Juan Fran could just print it out or... Now, I would like to encourage you because we're not tired of listening to people and having probably the same questions or probably fears. Okay, let's be very brief. You want to become resident in Spain. First thing you need to do is to get your residencia. Obviously, as we move on, you know residencia will change, and the requirements, as we've been on the tours and on the meetings, the requirements, they were very easy to get. Now we're getting complex. Now you need, and I didn't mention before, money in the bank for 3 months. Now you have to have that money.
Yeah. In some places, it's actually 6.
Right.
In some regions.
Right. I could only refer now probably Alicante with the experience we've got, but I agree that on the immigration situation in Spain, police station of every city, they might be picky, Richard, as you have experience in different areas of Brexit in Spain. I think in Malaga, in some places, they...
Can I ask a question about that, the 9,000 that you have to show? Would it have to be shown in a Spanish bank or
yes.
maybe in another European bank?
No, at the moment what they're requesting is to have the money in the bank in Spain, and let's see how picky they're getting. Mm-hmm. They want money in the bank, so if it's one single person, 9,000 euros, 3 months in a row, yeah. Right? And you need to have direct debits. So that means there is not only necessary now to have money in the bank, unless you have water, utility bills, electricity, or things like this. So you need to prove you're really resident. So in the old days, Stuart, yeah. I dealt with cases where they had a bank account in the UK.
I just showed my bank account in the UK.
And then you would, and that was easy. Things now are not as easy as they were. They're not as complex as for different countries. Mm-hmm. For example, third countries like American and Canadian, there is in a different level. Yeah. So we need to take advantage now, even though it's hard, to do things as soon as possible by the book. Now, what else do you mention about, that was the money in the bank account?
Yeah, it was about where the money could be. And when I made my application years ago, I just showed my UK bank account and said, I had access to this money in Spain, which I did. I also had a Spanish bank account, which showed my daily comings and goings from my finances, but that was all that was required.
In some regions, you can still have the money in a UK bank account and get a statement translated and show it.
That's what I did.
Right, but not here.
The situation will be clear, very clear here. It's very difficult to be very accurate in every single police station in Spain.
Yeah.
We could give you general advice now, and we could tell you about our experience in Alicante, but I agree with you that things might vary.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is it's an interpretation of the law, isn't it? Of the European regulations. Each country interprets those regulations slightly differently, like we do in the UK.
Each region does.
Yeah, and that's where there's the difference, because the same law at the moment applies in Spain as it actually does in the UK. For your treatment of European nationals, it's the interpretation of that law, the regulations, that is different in each country. So the requirement of what amount of money that you require is decided by the Spanish government.
At the end of the day, if you go into the law about the applicable law here, about what we call extranjeria law, right? Actually, if we go into Article 7, it never mentions money. It says a minimum required as a minimum salary, probably here according to Social Security. So, if, as Richard said, if you go to Malaga, for example, they might require you less. Now, I just checked, different police stations here in Alicante will keep for 7,000 euros as it was, but Brits now need to be dealing in Alicante city, and Alicante now is saying minimum of 9,000 euros with the ongoing. So for those who are probably here and they're trying to put things in motion, the situation is you need to open a bank account, you need to have all these paperwork, you need to have the S1 or the insurance, you need to have the health insurance, obviously, and the direct debit. So it needs to be 3 months with the 9,000 euros plus the direct debit. So the minimum will be 9,000 euros. But if you have water, electricity, so I always recommend to have more than enough to convince the police station that you are here to live without asking for money.
Right, what I'm going to do now,
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on. Stuart, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure.
I'm going to turn this a bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, my name's Stuart, as you know. I'm an immigration advisor and I work with 𝐿𝐴Z𝐴 here. I also work in the UK and in Spain. The majority of the work that I do with 𝐿𝐴Z𝐴 is helping Spanish nationals who are having the same issues that Brexpats are having in Spain. So the other way around. But what we're looking at is the same regulations, the same piece of law, and that they are being, it's the interpretation. So if there are any Spanish nationals watching and they're wanting to have questions regarding how Britain is currently treating, and as Richard said, there are no changes at the moment. The law is the same. So those changes are going to come in obviously later when we move into the unknown period. And that's...
You mean it's known now?
Well, the law I'm sure Ignacio will confirm that the law is the same as it always has been, and how it treats British nationals in Spain. But it's actually making sure everybody understands what the laws are and that they can apply. And I think one of the key points with Ignacio that he brought up was, it's 3 months bank statements. So you've got to make sure that, I think, if you were making an application, it wasn't turned down because, appointments are limited. You may have to wait another 3 months. And I wanted to ask a question about the monies in the account. What happens if during those 3 months, the balance drops below 9,000?
They will not accept it.
Exactly. So I think what you need to look at there is keeping that constant balance in the account, making sure it doesn't drop.
Yes.
And that's really important, because if it does drop at the last day, you're going to have to start the clock again. And of course, we're in a very kind of we're in a position at this point in time where the clock is ticking down to that day.
Yeah.
So
what I'm going to do now, we've just lost the
sign. Yeah, there we go.
I'll move that back again so as we're all in.
Yeah.
Tuck in, lads. Right. We're going to move on, but one of the things that I would like to say is you can always join Brexpats in Spain where we will answer your questions. If we can't answer them, one of our experts will step in and answer, because we're not going to cover everything here today, and there are these regional variations. I've got to stress it. The answers we give you are based on national law, and in particular, the Alicante region. If you live in Mijas or Malaga or Extremadura, yeah, it may be different. You probably would be well advised to consult somebody local, an abogado, a gestor, locally, to get your specific local information. But where we can help, we will. Right, we've got some questions in. Ignacio is going to give me them. Right. I'll read out the question. I think this one's for you. Regarding the 3 months banking history, if we move to Spain later in the year and can only open a bank account when we arrive and transfer a bulk amount, say 20,000 euros, would this be accepted?
Right. Let's be protective in doing things sooner rather than later. They're saying, obviously, we need a 3 months history. So I really encourage people to open the bank account now.
Can they do that if they're still in England?
If they're still in England, that's a problem that they could open a bank account, but unless they start renting in Spain and having a proof that they're living in Spain, even though it doesn't necessarily mean much, it means having direct debit, Richard, like Wi-Fi or water, electricity, doing some shopping, even if you come over the weekends. But unless you show, as nowadays, the movement on the, you need 3 months. So you need 3 months in advance before 2020.
So somebody really needs to move, say, at the latest by August.
I would recommend to do it as soon as possible. But yes, if you leave it for the very last minute, we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know.
I hope that's answered your question. But the answer is you've got to have this 3 months.
Right. 3 months with running direct debits.
Okay.
And money in the bank is good. The more you have in the bank, it will show you that you're solvent, living in Spain, but you need the direct debits.
Right. To stress the health insurance as well.
The health insurance is not a problem to get it for them. It's not a problem. We will organize that for them if they need our help. They could do it anywhere as well, getting the insurance, but that's one off. So that's one off you could do.
Right, moving on. We received our certificados de registro de cuidados in January 2019. But as we did not want to be tax resident in 2019, we left Spain in June 2019. We returned to Spain in January 2020. Are our certificates still valid?
Right, the certificate, the residency certificate will be valid. You have here an issue about the taxation side. So from an immigration point of view, is that residency valid? Yes, it's valid. You didn't give it back. You still have it, okay? But you'll have to be, you'll have to sit down with your lawyer, with your independent advisor, to see all the ins and outs about the taxation side. That's what I tried to say before, Richard. It's important, the residencia, but the second problem you're going to face, and we could do at the same time, is put your affairs in order, taxation-wise. We could sit down and work out the situation for you, if you really need to make a decision based on the tax. Because some people, if the tax doesn't work for them, they will not apply for the residencia. Richard, so that's something that is very much connected. Some people are committed to stay here, Stuart, they will stay long enough, and they don't mind whatever it comes up from a tax point of view. But going back to this question,
the question is the certificate still valid?
The certificate is valid, because as long as you don't give it back to the police station,
right?
This is another people living and returning to the UK, they should keep back.
So there's your answer. Your certificate is still valid.
Okay.
Right. Next question. We are in the process of buying a finca in Valencia. Our house in UK is STC. I'm not sure what STC means, but anyway, we have paid deposit on subject to contract. We have paid deposit on a property in Spain. how soon can we start the residencia process? Because at the moment we are still in the UK. We are moving permanently to Spain. Well, I think I can answer.
Yeah.
If you've got a property that you're buying in Spain, that obviously means that you've got a need. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it. So technically, you can start your residencia process. You can start getting your healthcare in place. You can get your finances in place.
Do you want to just explain what a NIE is to people that might not know?
Yeah, do you want to explain what a NIE is?
Right. Some people were quite worried about the NI number. The NI number is just a tax code given by the Foreign Office in Spain. So the police station will give you a tax code and a foreigner number from a tax point of view. That will prove you are non-resident and you could do any dealings financially here in Spain, like buying a car, buying a property, etc., etc. You don't have to get an NI number. You could jump on straight away with residencia. Some people start getting an NI number first, and then the residencia will come into the same number. Okay. If you need to know about the requirements about what you need for an NI number, you've got it in our blog as well on writing. But obviously, you need the 2 photos, passport, an address in Spain, and even just a reference. Some people, even today, they just did in the hotel.
Yeah.
So it's simple. You pay local tax.
Since we've covered NIE and residencia, we've missed one, and I think we ought to just explain what it is, and that is the padron.
Yes, I agree.
Now, the padron is something you obtain from the 𝐼𝐸𝐼𝐸, which basically, in simple terms, says, I live here. And it's quite important. It's both important for you because it is one of the ways that you prove that you are in fact resident in Spain. But it's also important for the 𝐼𝐸𝐼𝐸 because they receive money from central government based on the number on padron. So your service is improved. But it's an important thing to do. There's a lot of confusion over padron. You obtain a padron which lasts for a period of time. Again, what a surprise, it varies by region. Could be 3 years, could be 5 years, could be 7 years. Your padron certificate, however, which is different. If you try and buy a car and show your padron, you will find that it's only valid for 3 months. You have to renew it. Now there's the difference. You are not renewing your padron, you are renewing your padron certificate. The padron, you are normally advised by the 𝐼𝐸𝐼𝐸 when you need to renew.
And I forgot to mention, Richard, that there's a requirement for residencia.
Yeah.
So you need that, not for your NI number. Okay.
Right, we've got another question. If I take up residencia, will the authorities expect me to become a tax resident in due course?
Right. Now, here we go. It's a complex question here to answer because we will have to study your case to give you advice on that. But let me just give you a general situation. If you've got residencia, there is a presumption that you're going to be in Spain living more than 3 months, more than 6 months, and there is a presumption that you are a resident in Spain. Now, the tax office will take that as an evidence for themselves, because it's tax office with the immigration office. And if you want to prove you're non-resident, you have to prove partly that you're not really living in Spain 6 months here, and it's difficult. So it's a very complex situation for you to be able to prove. There is a double taxation treaty where you can see in Article 3 what is considered to be resident for the 2 countries. What are, if you're 6 months, Richard, and 6 months, some people are in this complex situation where the center of interest probably is not Spain. They've got residencia, but the center of interest probably is in the UK. They've got property abroad. They've got everything abroad, but they've got residencia here. I advise you to have good independent advice, tax advice, because you need to be very accurate on the evidence you will show to the tax office having a residencia and not paying tax in Spain. You'll really have to convince that you're in a situation where is
But you still have to send, you still have to submit 2 tax returns. If you decide that you're going to be fiscally resident in the UK and you live in Spain, you're still going to have to submit a tax return to the UK and to Spain, are you not?
no, if you're resident in Spain, you will submit it here.
Right.
According to the Double Taxation Treaty, there are certain things you will do in the UK compulsory. But there is a double taxation treaty, so you will never pay double. You will do one in the UK for only the assets that must be declared. For example, civil service pension must do that, and then you'll do the rest here, and you will deduct everything what you paid in the UK here and offset it. So going back to the question here, Richard.
They will expect them to become tax.
Correct. I mean, this is a simple answer.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Next question. Once a person has been granted residency, is it permanent? Or can it be reviewed and revoked for any reason?
Say it again.
Once a person has been granted residency, is it permanent or can it be reviewed or revoked for any reason? I'm assuming this means if they do something naughty.
Yes, it could be revoked.
Yeah.
It could be revoked. That's the answer.
That's a simple answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody's put they're moving on the 6th of July to avoid taxation this year.
Yes, I mean that's an option you've got.
Okay.
I have the same case this morning. If you want to do tax planning, I mean the immigration and the tax planning, as you know, in Spain goes. If you spend more than 183 days in Spain, then you are considered tax resident. Again, Richard, you're considered unless you prove with something difficult or different.
But the actual question is, moving on the 6th of July, they can do the taxation next year.
Yes, because they will be less than 183.
That's good.
And this year will be non-resident.
Right. Now, this one's a nasty one because we have come across this in Brexpats in Spain. We are renting a property in Spain, but our agreement with our landlord is that the utility bills are in his name and we reimburse him. So they can't prove.
They cannot, they don't have, well, you don't necessarily need the utility bills. You could probably go do the shopping, Richard. If you use your credit card and you live in Spain, that's not a problem.
Okay.
So you don't.
Flight tickets, yeah.
Flight tickets.
Anything that you pay out.
Yeah.
Everything they want you to pay from Spain and to show that you're living here and you're using your
one of the things that we strongly recommend is keep your mobile phone bills.
Yeah.
Because they are proof that you are using it in Spain.
Yeah.
It's extra. We are selling our UK property and intend to take residency this year after completion. We have been told that capital gains could be payable in Spain on UK homes as they consider you resident for the whole year. Is this correct?
Right. Basically, the situation, they're selling the UK property. We don't know when, right? Because that's the key of the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're non-resident here, then obviously you will never pay capital gain tax for that property. As well, even if you're resident and you're moving from UK to Spain and you reimburse, so you sell your property in the UK and you invest it in Spain, you could use the Spanish allowance as well as a fiscal resident. But there is some limits.
I think the key to this question is that they are going to complete before they take up residency in Spain. Before they take out residency.
So they will be non-resident.
They'll be non-resident when they do the completion.
No
but the question, there's no tax.
No.
So it's not retrospective.
No, it's no tax. If you sell while you're being non-resident here, you only pay here non-resident tax. Non-resident tax only affects.
But this is UK property, so
no.
Right.
Okay. They will not pay capital gain tax.
What happens if you are resident and you sell your house
in the UK? That's what I'm saying. If you're UK, if you sell your permanent house, you could use all the allowance of selling your property and reinvest it into Spanish property.
So there wouldn't be any taxes?
There is some limits to it, so we need to check. Yeah, you need to plan. I really advise you to seek advice on that, because on the selling you'll make a profit and you need to reinvest it. If you don't reinvest it, you will be paying capital gain tax.
Right. The person has come back on the renting in Spain. Would they be advisable to speak to the landlord and get the utility bills transferred to them?
Sure, yes, I would prefer.
Right, that would be better.
It will be better.
Yeah. We need to be really careful with this question because there are, I know, regional variations. Will the 𝐏𝐸𝐈𝐿 Especial continue after the 31st of December 2020? In places, it's not continuing now. Andalusia, for instance.
Do you want to explain that term to people who might not be familiar with it?
The 𝐏𝐸𝐈𝐿 Especial is a way of getting medical in Spain. You pay a certain amount per month. How much is it, do you know?
Up to 65 years, there are 60 euros per person, and from 65 is 157 euros per person, which I highly recommend to have once you already went through residential.
Right. So you can do that here in Alicante. It's been altered down in Andalusia, and supposedly there was free healthcare coming in, but I don't know what's happened with that. It's gone very quiet.
Yeah, it's been quiet. Let me add one thing, Richard. People getting residencia will have insurance, health insurance in Spain. After 1 year, well, obviously after 1 year we'll see all the evolution on the whole thing, but Convenio Especial in Alicante, you could join, and that's why I recommend a lot of clients as well, if they want public health, they could pass from private to public and then join the Convenio Especial, which it will be, if you're below 65 years, is 60 euros per month per person.
But I think I need to stress that you might get a better deal with a private company because my insurance isn't that high.
Right.
So I think you've got to really see which is
the best. I agree.
deal, really. Yeah.
Now, if adding to the question on selling property, do you also, in parallel, need to pay capital gains tax in the UK after selling your house in the UK when you are a resident in Spain? But the double taxation agreement surely covers that.
Right. Yes, the double taxation covers, but let me tell you how it works. If you're fiscal resident in Spain and you're selling a property in the UK, you're liable to pay taxes in Spain here, and you will offset here the tax that you did or had to pay in the UK. So I must stress you, Richard, if somebody is trying to sell a property, they could just seek legal and tax advice before to know how much it will cost them, because they will have to declare it in Spain.
Right.
Okay? Yeah.
Right.
Let me just tell you one thing before, with regards to health, before I forget. As Stuart said, private health is good. I mean, it's very handy. It's quick, it's probably your language, it might be suiting you. Be careful, because some certain things, once you declare the information on the illness, the insurance company will not cover. Will cover the rest, but not that one. That's why I probably encourage you to either have both, or just have the first one, because it's a requirement at the beginning, and then probably jump on to the other one for full coverage if your private insurance doesn't cover because of previous contingency circumstances.
On that point, we need to make a point about residencia, applying for residencia, because it came up today. Some people have been obtaining private medical care, but not fully comprehensive. And when they go to get their residencia, they're being turned down because it's not full coverage. So you've got to get full coverage, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah, you need to mention, you always will need a certificate saying that it is fully comprehensive, including treatment, surgery in Spain.
Right, now this one, Fiona, I would advise you to join Brexpats in Spain and ask the question there, because you'll be able to get an answer local to your region. But the question is, how much should we expect to pay an agency to support us to get the residencia? We already have a Spanish bank account and a need. I can't really answer that here. It'll depend on your region. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think she will have to ask for a quote in every single place where they are.
Now, this one is very sad, really. If you are unable to get private healthcare due to illness existing, like dialysis, can you get social healthcare? And if so, what is the procedure for obtaining this, and can it be used for residents?
Well, unfortunately, the answer is if any, I will encourage you to try with different insurance companies. Some will reject, some might accept you. If they say no to start with, you cannot join the Social Security service. The only way will be you working in Spain and paying Social Security service, for example, as self-employed. So once you join and start working in Spain, the Social Security will cover yourself. But private
a pensioner.
Sorry?
What happens if they're a pensioner?
The pensioner.
Well, they get the S1.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
the S1 would cover it.
That's right.
We are over 65. When we left in June 2019, we cancelled our S1s stroke SIP. I assume that's when we left Spain. S1 and SIP registration. Would that invalidate our certificados de registrar?
Right. So apparently they still hold the residencia. Is that what he says? No, it will not invalid. No, if they never went back to the police station and gave it back, that should carry on.
But they cancelled their S1s, so therefore the UK is not going to pay their medical.
Right. It's something about right. So they've got a residencia, but they're not covering.
But now they've cancelled the protection.
If they're going to stay in Spain, the question will be, do they need to renew that residency for any reason? If it's more than 5 years permanent, probably that's the time to apply for that again.
Yeah, I would say, and again, I need to be a bit cautious, because the problem with these questions is you don't have the full facts. But if you've got permanent residencia, then probably not a lot would happen. If you have residencia temporada, you're going to be asked to prove that you've still got an S1. And if you haven't got it, that's the end of the ballgame.
The thing is, they already have the residencia. The problem is, when they go to Social Security, it will not cover it.
Yeah. And you could end up with a bill.
That's right. I don't know whether they could try the convenio especial. In that time, Richard, it might be probably worth it applying for convenio especial. But for a specific, it's worth you looking into it with proper advice to find the way forward.
That question, they just said that they left Spain for a few months and cancelled it.
Cancelled their residencia.
Cancelled the S1. They kept their the S1. They
cancelled the S1,
but now they're back in Spain.
Yeah, but now back in Spain.
I think from a residencia point of view, if they didn't give back the residencia, they're fine. The thing is they need to go to Social Security to try to active again the S1 as soon as possible. I will encourage.
Yeah. Now, what I would say to you is that if you're going to do this, I would take a legal advisor with you, or a good translator, because you're going to need to be able to explain the position.
Yeah.
Right. Will the minimum, Monique says, will the minimum UK state pension be taxed in Spain?
Right. I don't know what will be the minimum at the moment, Stuart. I don't even know what is the minimum. But I'll tell you what is. But what the minimum, I'll tell you in Spain what will not be taxable.
I think it's about 9.
If you don't reach the 14,000 euros, you will not only, let's say, state pension. You don't earn more than 14,000 euros. And you don't have any other income for any other reason. That means you don't have a rental income, you don't have interest in the bank, etc. That will be the limit. That's not an allowance, right? It's a limit. Allowance is something different.
So it's 14,000.
At this stage, yes.
Well, that is over the minimum state pension, so you won't be taxed.
Okay.
Now, reapplying residency and comprehensive health insurance. If you get insurance upon arrival and 3 months later go for residencia, what happens at the end of the year of health insurance and getting on convenio especial? the 3-month gap.
Right. Okay. So you already have insurance, Richard. Is the question you have the insurance right when you come?
Yeah.
And what is the question there?
And the question is that if they go 3 months after they arrive and they get the insurance, they go for residencia. What happens at the end of the year of that health insurance they took out and getting on 𝐏𝐞𝐤𝐢𝐜𝐞 especial?
Right. The health insurance is going to prove is 1 year.
Yeah.
So the 1 year they're going to be covered.
Yeah.
After that year, they could join the companies.
Right, and they could do it immediately.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay. There's not an issue.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's right. That one's already covered. Finding a tax advice a little fluffy, and confusing, to be honest, on several questions now, which also relate to our circumstances. Seems to be very difficult to get simple tax advice in Spain. Well, I'm going to answer that first and then put it over to these two. Tax advice is specific to a person, and it's very difficult not to give specific tax advice without knowing a specific position. And frankly, that's not the purpose of this webinar. We wouldn't expect anybody on the webinar to give us their personal details so as we could answer specifically to them. To get specific answers, and they are available, you're far better off making an appointment with the tax advisor and sitting down with them, giving them all the details, and then they will be able to give you the specific advice.
That's correct. I fully agree, because we could give you general advice. You've got the blog to read what is general, but for the specific, I really think, Stuart, we need to have all the, if you send us an email with exact situation, we could confirm what is the answer to that.
And that would be simple tax advice based on your personal circumstances.
Correct.
Making a tax plan really for
Yeah,
an individual, and you can't do that on general advice.
And you certainly wouldn't do it over a webinar, because it would be unreasonable.
No, it would be difficult.
We have been working with nominees in Spain 17 years. If we both become unemployed and didn't get work after our paro, could we be sent back to the UK in 2021? The answer to that I already know is no.
I don't think so.
No. Do you agree, Pedro?
No, it's
Yeah,
exactly.
yes, that's not going to happen. We, if you look at the questions that we've been receiving, most of it is around tax. I would say 70% of the questions have been around tax. Now, it is an issue, and we've been aware of this for quite a while. We are also aware, particularly in the case of swallows, and again, it's not a derogatory term, but many of them are actually avoiding taking residencia because they want to avoid the tax situation. Now, those days are gone. Brexit has happened. It's now a fact of life. And the days of being able to sit between two countries and not be fiscally resident in either of them, that's gone. Yeah. So you've got until December 2020, and you are going to have to bounce one way or the other. You are going to have to be resident in the UK or resident in Spain.
Right.
Now, if you're, I know that the position is, where do you spend most of your time? If it's 6-7 months in Spain, that would be resident in Spain. If it's 7 months in the UK, that would be resident in the UK. One has to say, and I'm not going to go any further than this, but one has to say that being a resident of Spain gives you more flexibility than being resident in the UK. That's flexibility to move around. Can you reset that?
Yeah. Here we are.
Right. What have we got now? Oh,
They're coming. They're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, is because of the tax. Tax it brings now.
Right. Is there a register of good translators not necessarily certified? Not that I know of.
Yeah, probably they mean official, non-official translator, not swan translator. Yeah, they are.
There are.
There are.
So could they email you and get that list?
Oh, a list. They're asking for a list.
A list. I don't know of it.
Well, we know the translators that are not sworn translators and they're not official translators.
We know them as well.
That's
It says not necessarily certified, but could be certified.
It could be certified.
In the class of Spanish proceedings,
I think one of the questions probably relates to people who are putting in a residency application or translating documents, maybe from English documents that they're going to produce. And I think they're worried about maybe do they need to use someone who's very specifically
No. The question is there a registry of good translators?
That's the question, but maybe what's behind that?
Yeah, well,
kind of question.
I mean, first you need to establish, do you need certified translations?
That's right. It's the first question.
That's the first question you've got to establish. Because if you don't, then it's cheaper to use
That's right.
an uncertified.
And do you need certified translations for applying for residency in Spain?
Well, for residency here, let's say you have the S1, which is not, you don't need a translation. You need the health insurance, which is in Spanish. Bank account is in Spanish. Padron is in Spanish.
So it's quite limited what you would need.
Sorry? Right. Well, marriage certificate, that's correct. But that, so we've got some questions.
That's a birth certificate as well.
For birth certificate, at the moment, you don't need for the residency. You don't need a birth certificate anymore. The marriage certificate, that is when you have a European and a non-European. So the non-European is a beneficiary in a marriage of the European. So you could get the residencia because of the marriage. So the extra, let's say a non-European marries a European and wants to have the same benefits and residencies than the European, then you need the marriage certificate and you need a translator. And I recommend you to have official translator.
I did.
You did.
I became a Spanish resident in February 2017 and got the green residency card. When is the earliest I can apply for PR? And that will be, I can tell you that's 2017 plus 5, so that's 2022.
What is a
PR? Permanent residence.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And what documents do I need to start collecting? Well, the answer to that is you can't get permanent residency until 2022, and that would be February. And we don't know because it won't be residencia by then. It'll be TIE.
Yes.
Yeah. So the answer is do nothing at the moment. Don't even start collecting. When TIEs become available, you can move your temporary residencia over, and you will be on the TIE system. But you, all you need to do to move over, as far as we understand, is you will need a number of photographs, some money, and your existing residency certificate which you take in, and it will be changed to a TIE card. But in your case, it will be a temporary one, which will take you up to 2022. Next one. I've been receiving lots of health insurance emails from Spain. Where is the place to go? Maybe my solicitor in Spain?
Well, is health insurance, you can shop around. It's not a problem.
No.
Is there a 𝐏𝐞𝐿 website in Spain? Is there one?
I don't know.
Just compare all the coverage.
Oh, I understand there is a 𝐏𝐞𝐿. Yeah. Okay.
Has you got a little touch?
I wonder.
Right.
I think there's a question.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah. If we move to Spain late July to buy a property, will there be time to do all the necessary documentation we need to do before December deadline, i.e. NIE, Padron, bank account, driving license and residence? And the answer to that is I can give you yes. If you move in late July, plenty of time to get everything done. It's not an issue. Remember, you can get the NIE when you decide to move. It's a national identification number.
Please say yes.
Excellent. Right.
Okay.
Well, we had a technical glitch with the Wi-Fi and the internet. We are finishing now anyway. What I want to stress to you is the need to get your residency sorted out. One of our people who's watching this, Helen in fact, from Brexpats in Spain has asked me to make a point clear that maybe there was some ambiguity on, in that you cannot apply legally for residencia until you live in Spain. So, but I said you can start the process, and that is correct. You can get your bank account organised, you can get your NIE organised, you can start to get the paperwork process running so as you can apply for residencia on the day that you arrive in Spain permanently. Just to clear that up. Now, we're finishing now. We thank you for watching. We hope we've assisted a lot of you. There's been a lot of questions. Some of the questions are going to be answered directly because they are not suitable to be answered in a webinar. So we're going to answer those directly. There've been a lot of questions. And we're going to do this again. We would like your feedback. Please give us your feedback if you found this useful. In fact, give us your feedback if you didn't find it useful. Both are useful to us. So we look forward to hearing from you. We're going to do it again, and we will keep you advised of the position. Beware of misinformation. The information you've been given today is accurate and up to date. Brexpats in Spain continually talks with the British Consul and the 𝐼𝐸𝐸𝐼, and we ensure that the information we give is as accurate as it can be, bearing in mind the regional variations. Thank you again. We are now going to terminate the session. Thank you to Ignacio from Pellicer Heredia. Thank you to Stuart from Pellicer Heredia, who are so invaluable to Brexpats in Spain and to our 10,000 members. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.